let's think about the composition of the disciples.
Yeah.
They were not a uniform group of people. They were
Not
what
at
some
all.
would call a motley crew.
Yeah.
You had some brothers, James and John, that were called the Sons of Thunder.
Yeah.
I think probably because
Yep.
their language was a little salty.
A little salty.
Their tempers were a little hot.
Yeah.
Hey, they were fishermen. I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
You know, you had Peter. He was strapped with a sword.
That's right.
And cut somebody's ear off.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know, you had Thomas, I think it was Simon, I'm sorry, Simon, who some say was a zealot.
Yeah.
And the zealots were absolutely
Yep.
about,
Oh, yeah.
we're going to take this
Yep.
by force.
Sure were. Yep.
You know,
Yep.
so you had a lot of it. And then,
Yeah.
of course, the infamous Judas.
Judas. Yep.
But Jesus did not weed any of those men out.
Yeah. Man. That's
Judas
something else.
weeded himself out.
He did, yeah.
But Jesus didn't weed him out. Judas,
true.
he didn't tell Judas, hey, get to stepping, man.
Yeah.
We just got to give him. We got to give him a week.
Yeah,
give,
yeah.
Give him a sermon.
Give him a
Yeah,
sermon,
put him on
yeah.
his schedule. He's cooking right now.
He's on it right now. He's in his bag right now.
now.
Life can be fast-paced, strenuous, and flat-out overwhelming. Life transitions and taboo topics can make it hard to catch your breath. Welcome to Breathe, a podcast that enables you to slow down, get your bearings, and engage in real conversations where no topic is off limits. Breathe is presented by Breath of Life, hosted by David Person and speaker-director Pastor Debleaire Snell.
Hey.
Boom.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Breathe podcast with
Hey,
Pastor
hey.
Snell,
Podcast.
Pastor Nugent.
Yes, indeed.
David
Yes,
Person.
indeed.
Yeah.
We are glad to be with you once again for this great podcast.
Absolutely.
We like it. We love it.
We do.
We love it. And we're glad to know that many of you do too. We appreciate that. So we are now, as we said, we're into this new topic arena. We're calling it something or nothing.
Or nothing.
Right.
Something or nothing. And we want to know, for this one, we want to examine whether or not we should be bothered by the ideological requirements that some states are placing on potential employees.
Yeah.
If you don't know, in the state of Oklahoma,
Yeah, that's one.
there's a very deliberate attempt being made to require potential employees to submit to ideological questions as a basis for employment.
Mercy.
Yeah, in a way that we have not seen before.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so we want to discuss that on this episode of Breathe. Pastor, what was your motivation, first of all, for even thinking we should talk about this?
Yeah, no. So, when I was looking at this, because Oklahoma, when they look at the the educational metrics,
Yeah.
they're like number 50. Like they're in last place. And so it's pretty stunning to kind of hear them say, okay, there is essentially, and when you look at the superintendent of schools, his express desire is to weed out individuals or teachers that he believes subscribe to mentalities or idioms or axioms of the left or woke culture. And it is their goal to kind of really filter that out of the educational system. And in my mind,
Wow.
I was really challenged by that idea because I think you're seeing that in other sections of government as well. So that in order to work for this entity, they're asking you your ideology politically, religiously about certain things. And for me, that's kind of one of those things that always causes my, for lack of a better term, pastoral spidey sense to go up because it seems like there is an intentional movement afoot to create a homogenous worldview.
Yeah.
And it seems as if there are real-time consequences for not ascribing to said worldview. And it sounds a lot in some ways, and this may feel like somewhat hyperbolic, man, that if you are not really, because what I hear to a certain extent is Revelation 13.
That's it.
That if you're not willing to align with the values
It's the mark.
of the beast,
Yeah.
then you can't buy or sell or participate in culture. So I'm not saying this is that, but I'm saying that's the mentality of the beast. looks like a lamb, but it behaves like a dragon. And so I think that that's one of those things where, like, the idea that there is no free exchange of thoughts, that we cannot dissent in our ideologies or worldview, and there's actually a penalty that affects my ability to make a living. I don't know. That's something to me.
Absolutely something. I think the thing that blew me away is just the boldness of it.
Yeah.
Used to be, because if you work with anybody who does surveys or, they put out these instruments to be able to kind of gather from a wide, sample size, trying to understand a particular idea. There's so many different ways to massage data to come up with a narrative that suits you.
Yeah.
Here, they're doing none of the above.
Right.
We're not being covert.
Yeah.
We're not trying to go underhanded.
Right.
Do you believe this? If you do, we don't want you.
Yeah.
And that part to me was definitely confusing. But I think the second piece is that this is a system. They're on the bottom.
They're at the bottom.
So
Cannot get worse.
Any teacher,
Yeah.
in my opinion, would that is willing to go and work there, you would think that they'd be willing to have them.
Yeah.
No, not so. They've got a whole questionnaire.
Yeah.
And they want to put you through these paces to see what are you bringing to the classroom in a school system that by the national requirements, the national grading is at the lowest.
At the lowest.
That's the part. The boldness of it is like, wow, you guys are really just kind of wearing it on your sleeve. You're not even trying to kind of cover it up or hide it. It's right out there for all to see.
Yeah.
But there are a couple of things that are kind of like that are really making me that don't make sense to me. One, so when well, not a couple things. There are a lot of things about it that don't make sense to me.
Okay.
But I think part of it being, again, the straw man that says, man, the fabric of the culture is being destroyed because of these left or woke ideas that are infiltrating children through the education system. But the reason I think it's a straw man is because most people's worldview and values, religious or political or whatever, they don't usually get that from school. That comes from home. And
Great
so
point.
I just think the idea that, man, a teacher can overpower the values of what is happening at home, not to say they can't be influential, not to say they can't at least challenge thought, but at the end of the day, a person's worldview, how they see the world, it's going to be formed by what their parents do or don't do, teach or do not teach. The other thing that's really disturbing to me in this attempt to create this greater morality, like a part of that is, even especially when they describe woke culture, it is to drain the horror from things like the accuracy of what slavery was, Jim Crow,
Wow. Yeah.
the ugliness of the civil rights movement, in the attempt to frame America as this place of moral good, because see, this is the thing, and I've listened to a bunch of discussions about this. All right, a part of American history is the triumph of our people in the midst of those horrors.
Right.
That is not just our history. That's American history.
That's right.
But what some are doing is they are completely, diluting that by simply saying this wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Maybe describing it as a form of indentured servitude.
Come on.
Or just trying to make it seem like the tyranny of it was not as powerful or destructive as it actually was. And what I'm saying is I'm trying to figure out how you're applying moral value by helping to perpetuate a lie. Like those things in my mind just don't make sense.
Yeah.
So I don't see how you do that. And then I guess the other thing is like, I'm kind of, I'm a Christian person, but in certain things where I just want the objectively best person, your ideology just doesn't matter to me in that regard.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
right.
I want, especially a subject, like math.
Come on.
I want the best teacher teaching my child
Math.
regardless of they agree with my
Come
worldview
on.
or not.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just say, I don't know, let's just say you're having a heart surgery
Oh,
and you got a Class A surgeon whose worldview disagrees with yours, and you got a bottom rung surgeon or someone that they reflect your worldview.
let him use
I'm a little different than some.
Yeah.
I want that cat that has
That's
but the other shirt, he agrees with you, but his hands are like this, holding the scalpel. You see what I'm saying? I want the sharpest, the best, so on and so forth, because that does not, their ability to perform said task, to be able to do a surgery, to teach a class, to be able to operate heavy machinery, that doesn't inform my morality. That's not going to shape my worldview. Right. And so I just think that, and I have to believe, even as I'm raising young kids, I'm raising them generally to be countercultural, to not just align with the larger values of culture anyway. So I'm not really needing the teacher. You know, my kids are at Christian school, so I do like the fact that in that context, certain things can be reinforced. But a part of my job is to train them to deal with a dissenting worldview, because they're not going to always be in the confines of this education system. They're going to go to a college or a grad school or work at a job where people that have political or spiritual or a different worldview, and I need them to be able to stand up and deal with that kind of scrutiny or disagreement.
There's there's a quote from one of the founders of our faith that we have no fear for the future, except that we forget the way that God has led us in the past. And you know, a more common thing would be history repeats itself.
Yeah.
And I just believe that in order for you to learn from history, you got to actually know history.
Yeah.
And so the move or the attempt or the desire to kind of sugarcoat it, for lack of a better term, I think it's counterproductive, and I think it sets us up for failure in the future.
Yeah.
The second thing I want to share here is, and I hope this translates, but it's a joke that he used to share with us when we lived overseas. We lived in South Africa for 5 years, but in that time we lived and worked with so many different people, and they would say, hey, what do you call somebody who speaks 3 languages? And you'd say trilingual. What do you call somebody who speaks 2 languages? You say bilingual. What do you call somebody who speaks 1 language? They say American. I thought to myself, man, you really got me there. And, you know, we'd all laugh and blah, blah, blah. But there was a underlying premise to that statement that Americans drink their own, Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Americans have this, you guys are at the pinnacle. Going and living elsewhere helped me to shape and understand and recognize, like, while I have things I can share and teach, there is plenty I can learn from the culture that I was living in and working in. I just really think that you cut yourself off of the variety and spice and flavor of life when everybody's got to think and have the same mindset. And that's a dangerous space to be in.
It's funny because it, because at the end of the day, I'm not looking for my values from my moral values.
There we go.
I'm not looking for that from government.
Yeah.
I want them to provide a free and safe and equitable culture and environment under which we can abide. I'm not looking for morality from them, because at the end of the day, whose morality
is it?
Are we talking about? And I think that's kind of the thing I would want my brothers and sisters who are followers of Jesus Christ to kind of say, no, values should be first established by parents, and in your house of worship or church, those values are to be espoused and taught and celebrated, and I guess maybe even indoctrinated.
Mercy.
So that, the church is supposed to be the salt of the earth. It influences. It
the flavor.
flavors culture. It's not a hatchet.
Right.
It is not a sledgehammer. It does not beat people into submission through force. And just this idea of these ideology requirements that says, man, listen, you have to agree with a particular worldview. That's challenging to me, because you know what it does? It actually plays with conscience in a way that God does not.
No, there it is.
Like,
that's good.
Even
Yeah.
the one boundary
Even
that God gives himself
Yeah.
is wherever that line of conscience and choice. He does not override that.
That's right.
So that the Spirit of God woos, appeals, draws, invites, but there is no force. He does not supplant his thoughts in your mind and make them yours.
Yeah.
Like you have to embrace, accept, and ultimately submit. And I just think that, this idea that, we're going to create or limit your ability to have employment, depending on what it is, if you don't necessarily align with our worldview, especially if it's doing a job that can be objectively done by anybody, regardless of your worldview or your spiritual values.
Yeah, and the creation, and one of the byproducts of this this action that is happening in Oklahoma and other places is that it is making people who don't subscribe to certain worldviews or ideological viewpoints the enemy.
The enemy, yeah.
So for belief,
correct.
And this is be sure we're clear on this,
Right.
Because you believe a certain thing,
See,
not because you're doing something.
not a far jump.
But you're believing. You just simply have a belief, an opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to be penalized for having an opinion.
Yeah.
So, I think when you said there's not a far jump,
Exactly.
if you're going to penalize people for having an opinion, then, what's the difference between democracy and fascism?
Right. Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
What's the difference between being in a democratic society and an authoritarian society?
Yeah.
We should be able to be free to think whatever we want to think, even if that thinking or that thought process is objectionable to many of us.
Yeah.
I think about how, pardon me, for many, many years, this government was actively voicing opposition to communism and socialism.
Sure.
But the one thing it did not do,
Yeah.
until we could argue maybe we're in this stage now, the one thing it did not do was say, okay, it's illegal for you to be a socialist, or you're not going to be able to get a job if you're a communist. We allowed people with divergent views to live in this country.
Correct. Yeah.
They may not have been popular. They may have been scrutinized. They may have been criticized.
Yeah.
But they were here and they were free to live.
Yeah.
Now it seems to us, I think we're all agreeing that that's being challenged.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And in addition to that, to those who are part of the faith community, I actually think some of these things hurt the spread of the gospel.
Agreed.
I think this idea of weaving it into or state or government policy and kind of requiring it, I think it actually makes it harder for us to preach the good news of Jesus Christ. Because I think what is happening to a certain extent is, I think in some ways, the face of Christianity has become somewhat bigoted and it feels a little bit tyrannical.
Wow.
And I think that those of us who truly believe, we have to be very mindful to kind of say, we cannot allow that to be the face of the Christian movement. Or not allow that to be, the larger emerging perception.
Yeah.
Because, that group has the political clout in this particular season. And so I actually think in some ways it can actually undergird, the gospel of Jesus Christ, because anything people kind of feel forced to do, they automatically going to recoil against.
And speaking of Jesus Christ, let's think about the composition of the disciples.
Yeah.
they were not a uniform group of people. They were
Not
what
at
some
all.
would call a motley crew.
Yeah.
You had some brothers, James and John, that were called the Sons of Thunder.
Yeah.
I think probably because
Yep.
their language was a little salty.
A little salty.
Their tempers were a little hot.
Yeah.
Hey, they were fishermen. I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
You know, you had Peter. He was strapped with a sword.
That's right.
And cut somebody's ear off.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know, you had Thomas, I think it was Simon, I'm sorry, Simon, who some say was a zealot.
Yeah.
And the zealots were absolutely
Yep.
about,
Oh, yeah.
we're going to take this by force.
Sure were. Yep.
You know,
Yep.
so you had a lot of it. And then,
Yeah.
of course, the infamous Judas.
Judas. Yep. Mm-hmm.
But Jesus did not weed any of those men out.
Yeah. Man. That's
Judas
something else.
weeded himself out.
He did, yeah.
But Jesus didn't weed him out. Judas,
That's true.
he didn't tell Judas, hey, get to stepping, man.
Yeah.
We just got to
yeah.
give him a week.
Yeah,
give
yeah.
him a sermon.
Give him a
Yeah,
sermon,
put him on
yeah.
his schedule. He's cooking right now.
He's on it right now. He's in his bag right now.
Well, you know, I do preach. I do preach from time to time.
Yeah,
but you
but
right on
seriously,
it, Doc.
I mean,
I mean, seriously.
You know,
yeah.
he didn't. You know, so I think the current. You know, I know it. Well, I've just got to say it. The current mindset of the prevailing Christian viewpoint seems to be, you know, we've got to micromanage people's beliefs and values.
Yeah.
And most dangerously, we've got to use the government to do it.
Yeah.
So, but here's the thing, and this is where, you know, so I dancing around this thing a little bit, but I think this is the challenge. Do we have data that supports that is the prevailing mindset? Because what my sense is that there is a silent majority
That's a good question.
that believes this isn't what it looks like.
Okay.
And I think this is, you know, when we talk about this is something or nothing, I think for the believer, for the Christian called by the name, this should be the concerning point. You talked about this. It hampers the spreading of the gospel. It actually it's a bad representation of our faith and what we believe.
So maybe I should have said, Kirk,
Yeah.
it is the prevailing mindset of those who represent Christianity
Yeah.
This is true.
in the United States.
And that's what's most public.
Yeah.
But I
That's true.
totally agree with you. But I'm saying for the believer,
But that's a great point.
we should be. There should be something that is, you know, clicking for us to say, we can't stand to allow this to be the prevailing mindset out there. That this is what
Right.
Christians, at least from the United States, believe.
Right.
We can't allow that to be the message.
Well, it makes me think of just kind of, you know, in those when you read, say, like the Book of Judges or different times in the First and Second Kings, where it talks about how in Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord, and they all forsake God, you know, chased after other gods, so on and so forth. Many times, it is not necessarily saying everybody and all.
Right.
It's the leaders.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
I think, you know,
Ooh,
but
the
sometimes what the
leaders.
leaders were doing, they would bring a reproach upon all people. And I'm just kind of wondering, when you kind of say, is that everybody? Or is that just very vocal leaders now? But maybe it doesn't represent, you know what I'm saying, the disposition
I think that's a great
or
point.
the approach of the masses.
Yeah.
However, you know, it's funny because sometimes what the leaders do, it can affect the masses.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think we've answered the question, but to be clear,
Yeah.
Definitely something.
It's
we're saying
something.
It's something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something that we should be concerned about. Something
Absolutely.
that we're going to be watching, monitoring.
For sure.
But
And,
you know, but it's funny. There's something, and I wish the verse would come to me in mind. But essentially, when Jesus was about to be crucified, and it was clear that, you know, he had done no wrong or no evil. But there's this idea that is kind of really the foundation of kind of religious persecution, and essentially where one of the Roman leaders essentially said, "Listen, the needs of the many outweigh, you know, the dissent of the few." And what I'm saying is, I just think that we got to really wrestle with that, because if we ever just kind of say, all right, and we avoid freedom of conscience,
Mercy.
and just allow the needs of the many or the view of the many to prevail at the expense of the conscience of the few, we can be setting the stage for our own peril in some regards.
We were setting ourselves up.
Yeah.
We're setting ourselves up. Yeah. That's Something definitely something.
Yeah.
There's definitely something. And I think as believers we need to be mindful of what's happening, and look at it from the context of what we believe and what we know to be the truth. And one of the things that you talked about in terms of the disciples, the blessing that of them working together was the fact that they were so different.
So different. Yeah.
That was where you see Jesus. It's like, this shouldn't actually work.
Yeah.
And the fact that it is a miracle in and of itself.
Yeah.
And that in and of that miracle exemplifies that Jesus' presence is in it. And I think that is something to be said for anything that we bring ourselves to.
I was trying to see if I could find that in the Bible. I was using Google. I can't. I can't find it. But it is. There's no question that is a philosophical position that is out there.
Out there.
I don't know. If it was referenced originally in the Bible or not, but it's out there.
Yeah.
And it's one that really, in fact, I would argue, democracy by definition was constructed so that the needs of the many did not subject the few to the needs or wants of the many.
Yep.
It's supposed to be designed to create some balance, so that the rights of minorities, the numerical minorities, the cultural minorities, the religious minorities, are protected.
Correct.
But it seems as though
ideological minorities.
Yep. But it seems as though that right now the prevailing train of thought, at least among some of our religious leaders and political leaders, is just the opposite.
Just the opposite. Yeah.
Mercy.
Well, we got in deep today. We know it. We know it. We hope you hung with us. It's a conversation that we think is going to have more relevance as time goes on.
Yep.
So we hope that you will continue to do what we're doing, which is monitoring these things. And and so far, we've come to the conclusion over 2 episodes, something or nothing, something.
Yeah.
Definitely something.
Without question. But we don't worry about that.
Yep.
We believe in the Almighty God.
Amen.
And His ability to care for us, provide for us. And we know that one of the ways that we can tap into this is by the slogan that we have here at Breathe, which is stop, pray, and breathe. So don't let this create anxiety. Let this take this as an opportunity to think more about how you can connect on a deeper level with
That's
God.
right.
Yeah.
As we deal with some of these issues. And by the way, speaking of issues, let us know what you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Send in your topics, your suggestions. We'd love to hear from you on that. And until next time, don't forget, no matter how challenging life gets, you can face it, we can face it, when we stop, pray, and breathe.
Breathe is produced by David Person for Breath of Life. Executive producer is Debleaire Snell, and sound engineer is Kirk Nugent. Audio episodes of Breathe can be found on Apple, Spotify, or Google Podcast platforms. For video episodes and extra content, check out the Breath of Life YouTube channel. Breath of Life is faith-based content, resources, and programs from a contemporary urban perspective for those looking for hope and guidance. We believe that every breath we take is a testimony that God is consistent, that He loves us, and has a plan for our lives.